Hello, everyone. This is Cyan,
And I'm Magenta.
and we are Cyan Magenta Media. Today, we're going to go over Social Security a little bit. There's been a lot of talk about Social Security since Elon Musk went on the Joe Rogan podcast and said some pretty stupid stuff. If you remember when Trump was running for president, everyone kept saying there's no way that MAGA and Doge is going to cut Social Security. It's one of our most popular programs, which is wild to me. I kept hearing how cutting Social Security is a Democrat talking point and it's overreaction. But literally, since the inception of Social Security, Republicans and conservatives have been trying to cut it. So I don't know why anyone is surprised that that would be pretty high on the priority list for the chopping block of Doge. But yeah, let's get into this first clip. This is Elon Musk on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Well, I mean, the government's one big permit scheme, if you ask me.
Yeah, well, you can tell me better than anybody.
Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time.
Right, explain that.
Oh, so well, people pay into Social Security, and the money goes out of Social Security immediately. But the obligation for Social Security is your entire retirement career. So you're paying with you're paying like if you look at the future obligations of Social Security, it far exceeds the tax revenue. Far. Have you ever looked at the debt clock?
Yes.
Okay. There's our present day debt, but then there's our future obligations. So when you look at the future obligations of Social Security, the actual national debt is like double what people think it is because of the future obligations.
Okay, we're going to continue this, but there's two specific things I want to talk about. First of all, Elon Musk is so awkward. I think we just need to acknowledge these people are stupid. I don't care how many businesses Elon Musk has started. He hasn't started any business, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't give him that credit.
I don't
He,
care how
he is not owed that credit.
I don't care how many businesses Elon has bought his way into and then put on his contract that he's listed as a founder, because that's part of his contracts
Yes.
that he has to list himself as a founder. Tesla was around for years before Elon Musk showed up.
They probably shouldn't have named it Tesla because, I mean, that is the curse of Nikola Tesla.
Yeah, it's true. One thing I wanted to point out specifically is that Social Security does not factor into the deficit. It can't factor into the deficit. It's self-funded.
Right.
You pay into Social Security. When you hear that we have a $36 trillion deficit, that number does not include Social Security. It can't include Social Security by law.
Right. It's its own separate fund that we are currently paying into and the people currently collecting paid into for their entire careers.
It's self-funded. You basically pay into a fund of a certain percentage of your income, and at the end of, an end of your working life, when you need to recoup that money, you get it back. It's just money that you're paying in. It's a savings account, essentially.
Before we resume,
Yeah.
when he called the entire United States government a pyramid scheme,
Yeah.
I just feel like I need the room to speak on this for a moment because I've been heavily into anti-MLM, like,
Yeah.
content recently. There's a few YouTubers that I follow that discuss MLM and pyramid schemes because m multi-level marketing companies that pretend they aren't pyramid schemes, and they always say, "Oh, well, pyramid schemes are illegal, that's why."
Yeah.
Like,
I
we're
love
not a
that.
pyramid scheme because those are illegal, and we are a legally operating business, but the whole point of the pyramid scheme is to get more people into the business and funding the business itself.
Yeah.
That's not what the US government does.
This is a really good point, actually. The problem with the pyramid scheme is its funding is based on always adding more people. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And there's no actual money being made from the products. Essentially, once you run out of people, the whole bottom drops out and all the investors are screwed.
Right.
Yeah. As long as people are still being born and working in the United States, we're not gonna run out of money for the Social Security program.
Right.
And I'm gonna get into this a little bit later, but, you hear all the time that, "Well, we're not gonna have Social Security anyway," and we briefly touched on that in a previous, show that we did, but I'm gonna get into some of the numbers on how ridiculous that is and how wrong Elon is.
Uh,
So basically, people are living way longer than expected, and there are fewer babies being born. So you have more people who are retired and that live for a long time and get retirement payments. So the future obligation. So however bad the financial situation is right now for the federal government, it will be much worse in the future. At the risk of being a buzzkill here.
I have a point to make here because whenever I can bring up minimum wage, I always will.
Yeah.
One of the ways we could fix this false flag that Elon is waving, that we're not going to have enough money to pay into it to sustain it. Guess what? If you raise minimum wage,
Yeah.
we'll get a lot more money going into Social Security because it's a percentage.
Well, this brings up a very good point, and this is the best, fastest way to fix it. Okay, so the Social Security is broken into two different things. You have Social Security, and then you have the Social Security. I never pronounce Social Security properly. Jesus, I never pronounce Social Security properly. I always say Social Security. But anyway, so Social Security has the Social Security that everyone pays into and then has the Social Security Trust Fund, okay? Essentially what that is, it's overflow money and then that's, used for like Social Security, disability, that sort of thing, okay? So, the best way to solve this is you're right. If everyone was making a little bit more money, obviously that would raise the rate because Social Security is in my opinion, a regressive tax because it's a flat tax.
Right.
Okay. So no matter what you make, you pay the same amount. Typically, a progressive tax structure is the more you make, the higher your percentage goes up. Okay. Everyone on the scale of Social Security pays the same percentage of their income. The real problem is the Social Security Trust Fund, the numbers always move around, but a lot of people say like 2035 or whatever, the Social Security Trust Fund runs out. All right. Now, when it runs out, it will still pay 83% of the benefits. We could have no Social Security Trust Fund and 83% of the benefits will be paid out in perpetuity. Okay. Or at least for the foreseeable future, because people are always continuing to pay in. Okay. Here's the rub with Social Security. And this is why one of the reasons these people don't care about it, they're never going to see the benefits of it. And I don't expect them to. They're billionaires. They don't need to worry about Social Security and retirement, that sort of thing. You know what I mean? They're set for life. But your average person will need to care about it because it keeps 2/3 of seniors out of poverty. If we
Mhm.
get rid of Social Security, your mom and your grandma are going back to work.
Have you seen that some states have laws that require grown children to financially support their parents if their parents can't
I have heard
support
about that.
themselves? I want to look into that more
Yeah,
because, yeah,
we should do a show on that because I have heard that before, and it was something I heard in passing a couple of years ago, and then I was like, "Oh, that's interesting."
I believe it goes hand in hand with the idea that if you are uninsured but you have a child, your child basically can't be uninsured for health insurance purposes. So the your child could be under, I can never remember if it's Medicaid or Medicare. It's one of those, like your child will be covered under your state's Medicaid or Medicare for any health incidents that occur. And then, like, if you're unemployed, but then once you are employed and have money coming in again, then you have to pay that back. I think that this law that some states have is sort of the same. Like, once your parents have exhausted all of the government assistance that they can get, then they look to their living next of kin, but it has to be a child of the person, I believe. So, like, your great aunt isn't gonna be your responsibility, but your parent would be your responsibility financially to keep them from becoming unhoused and unfed.
So it's like the ACA, Obamacare mandate where you have to have insurance.
I think that's sort of the principle behind it, but again, I wanna do some more research and
Or
look into what those laws are.
so, the Social Security thing, what I was saying was, 83% would pay out if the Social Security Trust Fund runs out, okay? With that being said, $176,000 is the current cap.
That a single person can pay into it in a year?
No, that's how much they make. So $176,000 is the highest cap, okay? That means that when you exceed $176,000, you will be paying as much as someone who makes $176,000. If you make 10,000,000 a year, you're paying as much into Social Security as the person who makes 176,000. It ends at 176,000. It never goes past that point. That's why you hear so many people saying, "Raise the cap." If we raised the cap, it would get rid of so many issues. We are missing millions and millions and millions of dollars a year that are untaxed for Social Security benefits because it only extends to $176,000 a year, and then that's the highest level.
Right, so that's not even the upper 1% that's benefiting from that because there's way more people in this country that make $200,000 and they're not paying Social Security between the 176,000 to the $200,000.
Yeah.
That portion of their income in that year isn't going to Social Security at all.
Nope.
That cap has been there since 1935.
Okay, so 1935. So literally since the introduction of Social Security, the cap has never been raised. I didn't realize that. I know that we need to raise the cap again. I didn't realize it's the original cap. Because $176,000 in 1935 is millions of dollars essentially today. Probably
Yes.
3 or $4 million. But let's let Elon continue to spew his bullshit because he has no idea what he's talking about. Okay, so yeah, after that explanation, I don't think a lot of people know that about the cap. I was even surprised the cap has never been raised. I assume that was raised at some point. But you see how we are missing the majority of people, not majority of people, we're missing the majority of money in Social Security. And, as I said before, it's already a regressive tax. It's a flat tax. If I had my way, I would raise the cap and then make it a progressive tax where, maybe you're paying 20% in at $400,000.
Absolutely. That seems like it would definitely be the most fair way to ensure and put everyone's fears to bed that Social Security isn't going to run out
Yeah.
if everyone was actually paying their fair share of it.
It's really crazy. All right, up next we have Greg Kazar, Congressman Greg Kazar, and he is on Fox News, and he's actually going to pretty brutally fact check the Fox News host because they are talking about this. That's why I said this set off a little bit of a firestorm. So he's going to be asked about some of the Elon remarks and Social Security in general, and Greg Kazar's thoughts on Republicans' sort of tenuous relationship with Social Security. I want to apologize for this too. The video quality on this is going to be pretty low. I searched everywhere for the video that isn't cut or stitched, and it was like near impossible to find. So it's gonna be a little blown out, but you get the idea.
That these 23,000 people that showed up in Arizona want to see a Democratic Party that is willing to stand up and fight against billionaire interests. And I made it really clear that we need to separate the Democratic Party from billionaire interests and fight for working people. Right now, I see a Republican Party that is unfortunately really dominated by those billionaire interests right now, where you have Elon Musk calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme, saying that they'll eliminate billions of dollars from Social Security. Look, I'm the chairman of the Progressive Caucus in Congress. I recognize some of the viewers at home disagree with me on a variety of social issues, but I think we can agree that Republican members of Congress have no business going along with Elon Musk slashing Social Security, destroying Medicaid and Medicare, firing veterans, all to give out tax breaks to billionaires. That's the message that Bernie Sanders has been consistent about, and I believe that should be the new message of the Democratic Party, which I think could bring some conservatives back into the Democratic Party if we agree that these programs we all pay for since literally World War II, Social Security, should be expanded and protected, not ransacked by billionaires that want more money for themselves. You should work to be able to keep your money, not to make Elon Musk richer. You should be paying taxes to improve your life, not to make some billionaire buy their 10th jet.
To be fair, I don't think many of your Republican colleagues have any interest in touching Social Security.
But you have a lot of regular Democrats that are starting to sound like Bernie Sanders. Have you noticed this? There's a lot of people coming out saying things about taking, redistribution of wealth. The billionaires aren't pulling their weight with the taxes. They're living off the people. There's a lot of the people talk, a lot of working class talk, the workers. And it's really encouraging because I think with these rallies that Bernie and AOC are doing and the popularity that Bernie had in 2016, I think they're starting to realize that this old neoliberal way isn't going to work anymore. There's gonna be a people's revolution if this continues, and I think it's scaring him.
I hope it is scaring them. And with the youngest baby boomers born in 1965 turning 60 this year, I'm hoping we see a lot more like mobility and people going out and protesting to protect what is theirs. We've paid into Social Security our entire working lives in America.
Mhm.
And for somebody to threaten to take away what is America's savings account is scary. There's no reason to do it. As we've already said, it's a self-funded system. Nobody should ever even utter the words taking away Social Security.
Yeah.
We as Americans have paid for that benefit to exist to ensure that in our elder years, we will have money if we make poor financial decisions, or even if we don't make poor financial decisions as adults.
The way our country's set up, you don't even have to make a poor financial decision. Your entire life savings can be wiped out in one event.
Very much so.
You get one hospital bill and you go to the wrong hospital. You need emergency surgery in the wrong hospital that's out of network, you're done.
Yeah, you could be saving and responsible your whole life, and a tragic event like that happens, wipes out your savings, and now you have nothing but Social Security to rely on. And the baby boomers should be scared. The baby boomers are the cause of a lot of this, and they need to rectify this wrong.
And it's your money.
Mhm.
It's JG Wentworth. It's your money
Your
and you
money,
need it
not right
now.
now.
What's the craziest thing is, and this never occurred to me till right now, I keep hearing boomers talk about how irresponsible the younger generation is. Boomers are the ones on Social Security right now. 2/3 of boomers would be in poverty if it wasn't for Social Security. Where
Mhm.
was their personal responsibility? They're the ones doing it right now, telling us how irresponsible we are when they're the ones currently on it, and 2/3 of them would be in poverty if it wasn't for Social Security, and they had the easiest route to get to retirement.
Yeah, they were able to buy a house for like $7 and a pack of gum.
If 2/3 of the easiest to have been born in generation financially are in poverty currently, can you imagine what it's like in 40 to 30 years when my generation is in this? This is very off topic, but some people who follow some other leftist media might know what I'm talking about here. Greg Kazar looks this is just a side note. Greg Kazar looks so much like Bender I never realized before. That Bender of the Majority Report and Leftist Mafia. Does he look almost identical?
It's pretty
I
close.
never realized it till right now. I've seen Greg Kazar a lot. They look identical. But anyway, that is not
Um,
important, but I had to point it out.
Additional side note, Cyan's special talent is being able to say who somebody looks like.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there's some the problem is a lot of them are local, so you guys wouldn't even know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. Although
Yeah.
every once in a while I do nail a really good celebrity one too, but all right, let's get back to this. This is when Greg Kazar is about to basically smack down the reporter.
To be fair, I don't think many of your Republican colleagues have any interest in touching Social Security, but I want to keep moving on here. Your colleague Ro Khanna.
But to be fair, President Trump and Elon Musk just announced that they are closing Social Security offices and going to ask seniors and people with disabilities to go check in person at Social Security offices that they've closed. And in rural areas or really suburban areas, that may be really hard to do. And then they'll call those Social Security recipients, quote, fraudsters and cut off their benefits. That's what they've announced. And Commerce Secretary, who's a billionaire himself, just said on television, oh, if my grandma misses a Social Security check, I think he said my mother-in-law misses a Social Security check, she won't complain. Well,
but you're on the
Commerce
DOJ subcommittee, though, right? So you're on the DOJ subcommittee. So what they're trying to do is cut waste, fraud, and abuse. So I think they want to make sure the checks are going to real people.
The checks absolutely should be going to real people. And we should be looking at actual waste, fraud, and abuse, like the billions of dollars that big pharma milks off of the taxpayer by overcharging us for pharmaceuticals, like the way that big tech overcharges the taxpayer every day, like the billions of dollars in contracts that Elon Musk gets himself. Look, viewers at home may not know, Elon Musk makes $8 million a day from the federal government. Why are they looking at cutting Medicaid, which serves single moms, people with disabilities, or Social Security, instead of looking at the billions of dollars from the corporate class? It's because those corporations fund those Republican campaigns. I think that what's important for folks to know at home, again, even if you may disagree with me on this social issue or that one, is that every Republican member of Congress right now is looking to cut Medicaid.
To be clear,
over
though,
70% of Republican voters are opposed to Medicaid cuts, but the senator from Nebraska, or North Dakota, you just had on, is talking about passing a bill next week to slash Medicaid by over $800 million. I mean, how is that right? How is that representing the working class person in rural America? I don't get it.
Well, to be clear, you cited a number that Elon Musk is making every day. That's not from his government salary, to be clear. I mean, that may
Right,
be,
that's federal contracts. And he wants
related to
even
federal
more of them.
contracts.
But he very brutally fact checks him there, and he's completely right. I do like the part where he brought up about how Elon Musk makes $8 million a day from federal contracts, which is insane.
What what services could he possibly be providing that are worth $8 million in a single day?
Well, I mean, we outsource NASA to him.
That's
That
ridiculous.
is ridiculous. Starlink, I'm sure. Tesla contracts. We have Tesla vehicle. They just canceled a $400 million contract for armored Cybertrucks or armored Tesla vehicles to be in the military. So, it's the kind of stuff he does.
You can tear a Cybertruck apart with your
Yeah.
bare hands, and they wanna put our armed forces inside of one
Yeah. Well, the
as their
funny
protection?
I don't know. I'm sure by the time you put all the armor plates on it, probably wouldn't even work. But
It'd be
e
too heavy. You
Elon
couldn't get
makes
it up the hill.
yeah, exactly. Elon makes $8 million a day off the federal government. Do you know how much the average person makes per day for Social Security?
I do not know.
$65 a day. The average person at the end of the month when they collect their Social Security check, it averages out to about $65 a day. We're talking about that versus $8 million. This is the point we make all the time. This is the entire point of the show. This is the entire reason I'm a leftist. Is they are so clearly screwing you, and they are taking your grains of rice, your little pittance, away from you. Well, these guys have massive floods of cash coming in all the time. These guys are sitting on a giant mountain of, the finest caviar, and they're taking your Ritz cracker away and saying you're being greedy. It's insane.
It's the same principle as global warming in the sense of, global warming, climate change, where mega corporations put out all of these ads about personal responsibility. It is
Yes.
our personal responsibility to recycle. It is our personal responsibility to use less, to reduce our packaging, reduce, reuse, recycle, when I don't remember the statistic, it's like 90% of the pollution is coming from the
Yep.
mega corporations putting out these ads that they're putting it on us, and we're the problem when it's the
Yep.
mega corporations that are the ones causing all of the pollution issues.
That is such a great point because BP literally got a marketing agency to make the idea of a carbon footprint. You've heard about that, right?
Yes.
They created the idea of a carbon footprint through a marketing agency to put the onus back on people who are polluting at such minuscule levels compared to the BPs and the Exxons and all the major corporations of the world. So they basically said we need a scheme here to rebrand being green as it's everyone's responsibility. Now everyone can do better at everything all the time, obviously. But when you have a company like BP telling you you need to worry about your tiny little carbon footprint instead of, look that way, well, we're dumping, tens of millions of gallons of fuel into the Gulf of Mexico.
Very much so. I mean, New York State just passed that law that's putting it on the energy manufacturers in New York State
Yeah.
that they're going to be paying big bucks to operate in New York State, and they're also going to be paying retribution for what they've done to the environment. And that is setting a huge precedent in this country.
Yeah.
And as a former upstate New Yorker who also used to work for a major utility company, that just brings me a nice bit of joy when I saw that that came out.
It's the same principle as the progressive or regressive taxes.
Mhm.
A progressive way to handle the climate change is much like the progressive way to handle taxes. You go after the big fish, you cut what the big fish are doing, and it's going to have much more of a benefit. A regressive way of doing it is you go after the small fish, the normal everyday working people, you take from them. Same thing with the climate change. If you convince normal people that them driving to work for their 20 minutes a day is causing as much damage as BP, then it's just that regressive system, and everything in sort of conservative ideology is regressive in the sense of it always puts the onus on individual people instead of systematic issues.
Let's say Social Security didn't send out their checks this month. My mother-in-law, who's 94, she wouldn't call and complain. She just wouldn't. She'd think something got messed up, and she'll get it next month.
Yeah.
A fraudster always makes the loudest noise, screaming, yelling, and complaining. And if all the guys who did PayPal, like Elon knows this by heart, right? Anybody who's been in the payment system and the process system knows the easiest way to find the fraudster is to stop payments and listen.
Yeah.
Because whoever screams is the one stealing.
I have so much to say
I
about
know.
this.
How the arrogance of this motherfucker.
I'm glad your 96-year-old mother-in-law is financially secure enough that she's okay if a single Social Security check doesn't go out one month. I can tell you for a fact, both of my grandmothers who were rightfully receiving Social Security wouldn't have been able to pay their rent.
Yeah. There's people that would be dead.
They wouldn't have money for food.
Yes.
My family was not wealthy. We're not wealthy. My grandparents lived on government assistance. And if they didn't get their check that month, they weren't eating.
It reminds me of those coworkers I had when I had like an error in my paycheck. And I would go to them and be like, "Was your paycheck normal?" And they said, "Oh, I didn't check it." If you're not checking your paycheck every week, we are in a whole different
Tax bracket.
we are in a different league. I know you're making so much more money than me if you don't know exactly when your paycheck's coming in and exactly how much it's going to be for. Have you ever heard someone say that? Like, "Oh, I don't know. I didn't check."
Yeah, also just like when you're paid biweekly and you're like, "Hey, you get excited when it's a month that you're
Yeah.
gonna get 3 paychecks."
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're excited and they're like, whatever." And you're
Yeah.
just like, "What do you mean whatever? We get 3 paychecks this month. Like I can pay a little bit extra towards something else this month." And they're like, we get paid every 2 weeks. It's fine." Or they don't even know which week we're on if it's payday.
That's the one I was just about to say. When someone's like, "Oh, you're looking forward to the weekend?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's payday. I'm excited." And they're like, "Oh, is it?" If you say, "Oh, is it payday?" Then I know we are living a whole different life.
Yeah, different form of reality.
But that was the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, saying essentially no one's going to care if they don't get their Social Security check because everyone's doing just fine, these fucking idiots. These people are so fucking elitist and gross. Like, that's fucking gross to hear. Fuck you. I don't understand how you live in rural America as a MAGA supporter, and that is the guy that your man chose to be the Commerce Secretary, and that's the way he thinks of you. He doesn't understand anything. He doesn't understand that you're struggling. He doesn't understand that you are getting your paycheck possibly on the first of the month, and half of it's going to be gone by noon because you've already paid it, and the other half's going to be gone by 6 o'clock because you had to go to the grocery store, and then you're done for the month. That shit happens to a lot of people. A lot of people live that way. I can't tell you how many times I've had no money 4 hours after I got my paycheck.
Mhm.
By the time I get it on a Friday, Monday, it's all gone because it's all processed through, and I just watch it go down and down and down because my rent's paid, my car is paid, my insurance is paid. After that, I'm like, I have nothing, no money for the next 2 weeks. And these guys have no idea. And to say that this is the most insidious part about this. And Elon said that too in the interview that we watched earlier, but I didn't show the whole thing. When he says the people that are going to complain are the fraudsters,
Yeah.
how fucking gross are you? The people that are going to complain are the people that need this money. You think fraudsters are going to complain? You think someone committing Social Security insurance is going to show up at their local Social Security office and say, "I didn't get my check this month"? No. The very few people that are committing fraud are getting like a check to their dead mom's house because no one reported it. You know what I mean? That happens every
Yeah.
once in a while. It's such a minuscule amount. And, they're not going to show up at the Social Security office, be like, a 6'4" burly man and go, "Hi, I'm Doris Martin. I didn't get my paycheck this month. I'm 94 years old." Like a 60-year-old, a 50-year-old dude walks in. No one's doing
Yeah.
that. You fucking idiot.
That's ridiculous. And to think how so many MAGA supporters say, "Oh, liberals and leftists, we're all the elitists." That's the
Oh,
most elitist thing I've seen.
I know. I have to tell you, that reminds me of, I saw a Peter Thiel interview earlier where he basically said that the good thing about the Republicans is they all went to Ivy League schools and the Democrats went to state schools. So I guess they just completely given up on the elitist thing. Now they're just
Yeah.
embracing it, that we're the elitists.
Hey, state school.
State school. Yep. I wanted a big old football program I could go watch and get drunk during tailgates, and I got that experience. When people tell you Social Security will be gone, it's a lie. It is a Republican talking point, MAGA talking point, conservative talking point, basically a neoliberal talking point, actually, because there's Democrats out there that want to cut Social Security just as much. That was an overall kind of view of what these people think of you and Social Security and their plans with it. So, if you could, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And click the link below to find us on all of our other social media platforms. And feel free to give us a follow everywhere.